am Rachel Tretton. I'm here with my dad.
Jeff Pfeiffer.
And what businesses do we own together?
So we have an international brand infrared heater. I invented it. It makes twice as much heat as almost all the others using the same amount of electric. And you can actually heat a smaller home with just one and just plug it into a regular 110 outlet. It's half the price of oil and so on.
But I mean, this isn't a sales pitch here. I just asked what business we own.
Oh, well, that was one of them. It's called Heat for Less. Heatforless.net, in case you're wondering. But it's not a sales pitch or anything. No. But I'm just trying to help you save money. I'm just saying. And then the other is the Gilbertsville Farm.
Yes, we have a high-tech corn maze business.
Yeah.
And then the third one is the one we're going to talk about today because I think a lot of our viewers on Facebook are going to be interested in this. So we're going to highlight this one first. And
North Wind Stable, our horse boarding facility.
Did you ever think you would own a horse farm?
I did not. That's not something I actually really aspired to do. But when the opportunity became available, I thought it would be pretty cool. So we've owned corn mazes for, I think, around 19 years, something like that.
This is going to be our 20th
year of owning corn mazes.
Yes.
And they've been all over. We had one in Erie, Pennsylvania, and Royersford, and different places, but they weren't all the same place. But
they were all in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. We were looking for we never owned the land. We always rented the farm where we had the corn maze. And so we decided that, I said to myself, we're not going to do another corn maze, unless we own the property. So we were looking for about 3 years. We finally found one that's ideal. We bought it, and just as I was closing on this farm, which is where we are now, the Gilbertsville Farm is located here on this farm, the people we're buying it from said, hey, the horse farm next door might be for sale. You might want to check it out with them. It was listed for sale, then it was taken off the market. So I gave them a call and shared that I was interested, and I said, are you available to meet? And they said, oh, sure, we'd love to meet with you. And I said, well, when are you available next? And they said, well, we're home now.
Yeah.
So I got my car and went right over and talked to them, and it was a lot of weaving and
yeah, but I think that's what our viewers are going to want to hear. So we should really get into that. We've never really openly shared the details of the situation, like how we acquired this farm. So a lot of people that know who we are assume that we are ultra wealthy people. Just because we own 3 different businesses, we have 3 properties. But the way that we acquired the horse farm was very unique and was something I believe God had done for us because we weren't in a position financially to buy a second farm.
Well, we actually bought it with none of our money. We didn't use any money. We didn't have money to even buy it. So
there you go. We didn't have the money, and we bought it with no money. So can you tell the viewers or listeners how that happened?
Well, the gentleman who he's an investor in one of our other companies, and I shared with him that I was looking at buying this, and he said he'd be willing to finance it so we could buy it. So he financed part of it. It was actually under bankruptcy and going through foreclosure.
It was days away from a sheriff's sale.
It was days. It was like the end of that week. It was up for sheriff's sale. Yeah. But I mean that now. When we closed on it, it was days away. But I mean, we were working on it for months to make it happen. We bought it from an older couple, a nice couple, and their children are my age, and the children were trying to get their parents to give up the horse farm because they weren't able to take care of it in a way that it really needed to be taken care of. And at the time, there were 21 horses on the property, and they weren't being taken care of quite as well as they should have been either because they're an older couple, and you can only do so much when you're my age,
Your age. No, they were way older than you.
Oh, then what am I saying?
Their kids are your age.
Their kids are my age. Yeah, they're older than me by about 20 years.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, so I admire the fact that they,
they wanted to hang on.
They
did hang on.
They loved horses and they loved the property.
Yes.
They loved the property, but it reached a point where they just couldn't afford it anymore.
No.
And so, so I ended up making an offer.
Yeah.
And
it was a unique offer. I think that we need to get into this because this is like the really unique part that makes our story of success, quote unquote, successful.
The one part is that I offered to let them stay there for free for the rest of their life.
In the house.
In the house, and because they wanted to keep living there, and I was okay because it was an investment property for me. I didn't want to live there because I already was buying this farm, and so that was the agreement. And then as we started going down the road through the details, it turned out that just the amount of debt, not just the mortgage, but there was a second mortgage, a third mortgage, and a whole bunch of other debt. And I said, boy, you didn't share with me up front about all this debt. And either they forgot, which is possible.
It is. They were older.
Yeah, or they didn't want to admit it or whatever. But it was so significant. I said, I just can't let you live here for free anymore. That part of the agreement just won't work.
Right.
So I offered to help them find an apartment nearby, and then the gentleman who owned it, he and I would work together with the horses. In other words, he would do the work of the horses, and I would support financially and so on. And it was a breeding facility. He had breeding horses, and actually he breeded. They were called Hanoverian is the breed, and they originated from Hanover, Germany, and this man's father brought one of the very first, if not the first, one of the very first Hanoverian horses from Germany to America. And he was a quite prestigious individual in the horse industry.
He was a very well-known man.
And so the breeding that was happening prior to me buying the facility was really top-notch. I mean, these were purebreds, and they were quite valuable. And so I thought, well, if this gentleman would want to continue to do that, but he didn't have the money to do it, but I felt there was money to be made in it. So that was the original agreement. Well, the agreement is that they could live locally. He then could still be involved in the horse world because he loves horses. He really does. And so we tried to do that, but then they ended up moving. And right now they're living in Canada.
Yes, sir.
With the wife's sister.
Relatives.
In a community, retirement community. And it's going really well, according to their children. They said that they really are enjoying what they're doing, and they're really happy there and everything. And
we actually get to stay up to date on them a little because their son is actually our insurance broker for the horse farm.
And other properties?
And this property as well. Okay. So he's loving watching and following us as we make upgrades. So the house on the property I renovated into an Airbnb, and we're just coming into month number 3 of having the Airbnb open. That's all.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, and we're on our 13th guest.
Wow.
In 2 full months.
13th set of guests.
Yes,
not
guests.
Not individual.
Correct. Yeah, our 13th overnight stay booking. And it's really cool because the group that's staying tonight are a bride and her bridesmaids, and she's getting married tomorrow. So she decided to stay in our house for pictures, getting ready. She brought her dress over early this morning. So that's really, that's been so fun. No, I haven't met her. I've been messaging her and left her a little note with some snacks.
Yeah, we were shopping yesterday, and she wanted to buy a card for the bride.
Yes, I said,
let's give her a little gift. And so I suggested popcorn. Hey, so
popcorn.
If you ladies are watching this now, you can thank me for the popcorn. You're welcome. You're welcome.
So that was fun shopping for a card for somebody I never met.
The Airbnb is going really well.
It is going extremely. I haven't told you. I haven't talked to you until now today. But in the last 12 hours, I had 2 more bookings.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah. It's going really well.
It is going well. We didn't know. I mean, it's like we were renting it to like families and stuff, but families are.
You mean long-term stay?
Yeah,
like long-term rentals. When you say families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we need to clarify that.
Like a minimum of 1 year at a time, like a standard lease. Like we used to. I've had rental properties in the past, and I didn't really want to get into that again.
Yeah.
And I sold those rental properties. I just didn't enjoy being in it because of all the stuff that goes along with it. But here I am with a house on the ranch, and it's like, well, what am I going to do? Just let it sit empty? So, let's rent it.
Yeah.
So, and the people were really nice that we rented it to, but we put a lot of money in and hard work into it, and then when a family leaves, there's wear on the home. So we need to paint it again, put new carpeting again, and
It's just really labor intensive to do that every year or every 2 years.
And with the Airbnb, much to my surprise, I mean, it's like when these people leave, it's like it was when they arrived. I mean, it's really working out really well.
Yeah, we only had one group that was an issue where they smoked marijuana and it took a week to get the smell out of the house.
Oh, really?
So that was not cool. But overall,
well, I don't smell good, so
no, you didn't even smell it. That was.
Did you get that? I don't smell good.
No, you don't smell good.
My sniffer. I meant I don't have the ability to smell good. I didn't mean.
Oh my goodness!
I'm just saying. Okay.
So anyway, so the house on the horse farm is currently an Airbnb and it's going well.
Yeah.
We have 15 horses that are in pasture board at the moment. All of the fields have very large run-in sheds, so they are able to get out of the weather. We have 95 acres, so we are very careful with the number of horses that go in each pasture so that the grass isn't overly grazed.
Right. So. Yeah, the grass is there's always more grass than what the horses have the ability to eat.
Right.
So we actually mow the pastures to keep them looking nice and so on.
And we're currently in the process of a new fence install.
Boy, we've been working on this since when did we start? September, October of last year.
Installing it,
Installing the new fence,
Yeah, it's been almost a year.
And we're almost done. We have like one complete pasture to go, and there's a little bit more than that, and then we're done. So we may be done by the end of this month. It's possible. Definitely by the end of next month.
This month we're already mid-June.
Not quite. Yeah.
So we're excited about the fence project.
Yeah, and it looks beautiful what's done. It looks so nice.
And again, just another story about how we are not overly wealthy, and yet God provides, and yet we think outside of the box. This would be a really cool story to share with our listeners. So with our farm, the fencing was falling down. It was a high tensile wire fencing. So for those of you listening that don't know, it's really dangerous for horses. If they lean up against it too hard, they will slice themselves open.
It's thin pieces of wire.
Yep.
And there were 5 layers of it. And if a horse, prior to coming to our facility, was in a pasture that had like,
even a wooden
fence or the white plastic fence or anything like that, it's more visible. And with this high tensile wire, a lot of horses, they didn't even see it, and they would just run right into it and hurt themselves. And
it was so bad.
That was.
So we knew the fence needed to be replaced. And so when we took ownership of the farm, the 21 horses that were there, I feel like we're going to lead into another story here, they needed to find new homes. We acquired the horses with the sale of the property. They were in a very unfortunate state with where the stalls were not being mucked. So they needed to find new homes. We are not really well connected, or at that moment we were not connected in the horse industry, so we found some people willing to help us rehome them, and that was a very positive experience. One of the people we met is a trainer and manager of a very high-end horse farm down the road from us, and she mentioned to you that the owner has lots of money and the farm is just a tax write-off for her.
And we were talking with her at the time how bad the fence was, and I said eventually we need to replace it, but it's going to be so expensive to do. And then that's when she said she
was going to be paying a fence company $30,000 to take it down
and take down their old fence
away.
Yeah. And I said, what's wrong with it? And she said, nothing. The owner of the property just likes to change the fencing every few years.
Yeah, I think it was up for what, 3 years?
I don't know for sure, but that'd be a guess.
And she bought it from Europe. It was imported from Europe. It's specifically made for horses.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
Yes.
$300,000 is what they paid to have that fence. So I said, look, she doesn't need to pay $30,000 to take it down, and I'll take it down for free. And she said, well, let me go talk with the owner, and she did, and the owner said, fine. So we got
a free fence, guys.
I mean, I paid
amazing.
3 employees to go over there.
I think it was a total of around $12,000 with labor, because they trailered it, so we paid them for use of their trailer and things. But I mean, $12,000 for a $300,000 fence is unheard of.
And it's a really nice fence. I mean, it's pretty for one thing, but the other is it's durable. Like a horse could run into it full speed. and it won't hurt the horse, and it won't hurt the fence. And in fact, the people that we got it from, the barn manager shared that a large tree fell on it, and the fence was flat on the ground with a tree laying on it, and they were sure that the fence would be ruined.
Yeah.
And they went and cut the tree and took it off, and it started coming up, and over time it completely restored itself. And I thought, wow, that's pretty impressive. So when we were putting the fence up, I accidentally ran the skid loader, it's a track loader, very heavy, over.
You did what?
Yeah, one of the posts. And it smashed it flat.
I bet it did.
And I said, well, I guess I'm not going to use that. I came back and looked at it, about like a week later, you couldn't even tell I ran over it.
Wow.
It really is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's hard to install because it's hollow on the inside. So you dig the hole, you put the post in, but you have to put the dirt back in the post. Otherwise, it's going to be hollow inside the post. So when it rains, the dirt around the post will make its way up into the post, and then the post will get wobbly. So we had to put the dirt back in all of them, and then we waited until it rained a few times, at least 2 to 3 inches, so the water would go down in the post and get the ground that was soft to get it hard and compacted, and then there's caps that go on each of the posts.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a beautiful fence. I mean, we're getting getting comments. People in the neighborhood are...
People just send me messages. They're like, you are such an asset to the community. We love how well groomed you keep the pastures, and the new fence is beautiful, and we're just so thankful you're here. And it's really awesome to have such kind neighbors and just a community that really appreciates the hard work that we're putting into the farm.
A little off track, but one of the neighbors who actually, their property joins ours property, one of the properties we own had a roof leak.
Yeah.
And he came and fixed it for free.
Yeah, we have amazing neighbors.
Yeah, so that was cool.
So the fence, we talked about that.
Yeah.
How we got it for $12,000.
Yeah.
We talked about how the house is an Airbnb that's making us money.
Yeah.
So I guess a lot of people that come across our Facebook page, mostly our viewers on Facebook, a question that we get asked a lot is why we bought a horse farm when we don't own a horse, and why we think we're going to make tons of money in the horse industry.
Well, that's pretty easy for me to answer.
So that's why I'm asking.
We've owned about a dozen different businesses, from restaurants to a zoo, ice cream parlors, apparel company, different businesses we've owned over the years. I've owned over the years, my wife and I. And and we didn't have any experience in any of the businesses when we bought them or started them.
Right.
And you learn as you go. I mean, to say, well, you shouldn't own a zoo because you never owned a zoo, you know. In fact, the ice cream parlor, I've owned 2 of them. The first one I owned, the company sent their main sales rep to us because we were right next to a mall, and they knew we were going to do a pretty good volume. And
it was a rep that sells ice cream.
Yeah, for
That's
that company.
An important detail.
Oh yeah, well, I'm
you
sorry.
Left out that
Did I leave it out?
Yep.
So the rep for this ice cream company, he met with me and he said, "What's your plan?" And I shared with him what we're going to do and so on. And he said, "Well, you can't make money just selling ice cream." And I said, "Yeah, I think you can." He said, "No, you need to sell steak sandwiches and hamburgers and hot dogs, that kind of thing." I said, "No, I'm not interested in doing that. I'm just going to sell ice cream." And he said, "Well, we own a couple ice cream parlors. One of them is right on the main highway, which is called Route 422, which is a 4-lane highway. And he said, it's losing money and we're going to close it down."
Yeah.
Because all they were selling is ice cream.
That's
and they closed it down.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I had done the numbers. I mean, you need to figure out what temperature the ice cream needs to dip best at. If it's too cold,
we don't want to give away too much.
Oh.
Because that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, we do want another ice cream parlor. So every business I've owned but 2 were profitable. The very 3. The very second year they were profitable.
So what you're getting at is the company selling ice cream told you can't make money, you can't do it, because they tried it and they failed.
Right.
And with the horse industry, that's the same thing. Horse people are saying, oh, you can't make money, you can't be profitable. But for us, we wanted to buy the horse farm mainly because not so much the profit. I mean, that's definitely a perk, but it's right next to our corn maze farm. And we wanted to have the ability to have extra land to expand if necessary. And also, it was a whole nother home. So if we wanted family to be able to move next to you and Mom, we could. Like my husband and my kids and I could live there, or my brother and his family could live there. So having that flexibility was really awesome. And I mean, just the fact that we were able to just take over their mortgage payments. And our investor helped with making that happen. You know, why would we pass up on an opportunity like that? It's not that we're trying to board horses to become millionaires. We understand that you can be a millionaire with a horse. You start with $1 million. You don't end up with $1 million, but you start with $1 million.
How do you end up owning $1 million when you own a horse farm? And the answer is you start with $2 million.
There you go. There you go. That's the saying. So we understand horses are not the most profitable.
It's not. Actually, this is the least profitable business I've owned.
But you know, it is paying between the horses and the Airbnb. It is paying for the mortgage and for our staff, and that's all we could ask. It's working for us.
We're almost breaking even. But it took 4 years. And every other business I had was profitable the second year. But this one here has taken 4 years. So we had to make there was a learning curve. The learning curve for this business was more than any other business that I've owned.
Why don't we get into that? For those people who've never had a horse farm, like us, 4 years ago, we didn't have a horse farm. We were entrepreneurs at that point, but never in the horse industry. What is like the biggest takeaway you've learned the last 4 years having a horse farm?
That I didn't realize that the intensity of the owners of the horses. I mean, to me, that's it. I mean, they're nice people.
Most of them.
Most of them are nice people. But they don't. If you get too many there, like we had, I guess close to 30 at one point, and you get a couple people that don't like each other, and then you have friction, and then we had a situation where this person had their group, and this person had their group, and this group got mad at that group, and that group got mad at that group, and it was craziness.
So much drama.
The drama. And everybody who's ever, between the 3 managers we've had, the barn managers over the years, we've had 3, and all the horse boarders, every one of them said, I don't want drama. I don't want drama. I don't want. They all say that.
That's a red flag for us when somebody tells us that.
When they say they don't want drama, a lot of times they're the ones that are the drama. Oh my word.
Not all the time, but
to me that's the hardest thing.
Yes.
And so the way that we've done it now is currently we're doing just field board. And so there's no show team. The show
that's
team,
where a lot of drama was.
In both cases, I think that we had the major blow ups, that it was because of the show team. And it's like, oh, I'm the show team, I'm better than you, and it's like, silliness. But anyway, so the people. The people getting along with each other is really the hardest. So when you talk like with ice cream, ice cream doesn't create problems. The vanilla doesn't say to the chocolate, see, more people like me than you. It just doesn't happen. So
yeah, that's true.
So the people aspect is really the hardest. The horse part of it isn't really that bad. I mean, I like the horses.
The horse part isn't bad because you don't do anything with caring for the horses on the daily basis. You get to go, say hello, pet them, and leave. And the horses never talk back to me. They're so nice to me. And I do. I make my rounds on occasion, and I get caught talking to them on occasion. But I don't love them as much as Tom. I was just going to say, one of the biggest things that I've learned the last 4 years through this business in particular is that it's really important to find the right people, and everybody has different talents and skill sets, and I knew that, just working with you, Dad, you're not a great speller, I'm not the best speller, but I'm definitely better than you, and that's how I compliment you, but then you compliment me in so many ways with, you definitely make me try new things and step out of the box where I'm not comfortable, so we're a good team, and through the horse farm, we've had a lot of employees come and go with feeding the horses and caring for the horses, and even lawn care. And Tom, he is truly gifted with caring for the horses. He has a love for the horses that nobody else has. I mean, lots of people that came through love the horses, don't get me wrong, but Tom is truly the perfect person to handle the horses.
And the people love him. It's not just the horses love him, but the people love him too. Even when there was that friction between the people in the barn, both sides love Tom.
That's right. Tom knows how to stay out of it.
So when we first bought the facility and we tried to run it ourselves,
right,
we hired people.
Mm-hmm.
So we had, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 people who were cleaning the stalls, feeding them. We had a barn manager. We had
an office manager.
They were part-time.
A feed manager who oversaw the food.
Ordering the food and organizing that and everything. And right now, Tom's doing it all, really.
Yeah. Yeah, when we ran it ourselves, we had 11 employees mucking the stalls, feeding the horses, managing the place. And that was our downfall. And we were told by the managers and the trainers, you need more people, we need more people, we need more people. And now that we have retaken over running it ourselves recently, we are like, we need one person to do all the work of 11.
And the horses are cared for just as good, if not better.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, because it's one person, it's a constant.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's not too many hands in the food dish.
And he knows the horses. Mm-hmm. I mean, the other 2 weeks ago, I think it was. You might have been there even. I think you were with him. He looked at a horse and he said, "That horse just isn't acting right. Something's wrong with the horse."
Yeah, and he was so right.
And he was
unfortunately,
right.
The horse ended up passing. It was sad, but I mean, he spotted it right away.
But I wouldn't have spotted it. I mean, I look at horses and I'll see them standing on 3 feet, holding a foot up, and I was like, "Oh no, they're injured because they're holding the foot up, or they're laying down."
I was just gonna say that.
They're laying down. Oh no, they're dead. I mean, it's like
they can sleep and they look dead.
I know.
I mean,
when they sleep laying down, I didn't know they could sleep. I didn't know.
I didn't either. Yeah. It still freaks me out. 4 years later, I see a horse laying down and I have to like clap and make sure that it's okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So it's been a journey.
It's been a journey, yeah. And, truly, it is difficult. I mean, I've had people in the horse industry who own barns, and they say that you just can't make money. The only way you can do it is if you love horses yourself and you're there all day, 7 days a week, from sun up to sundown. And I can see where it could be profitable then.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. There's for sure money to be made.
But we found a way.
Yeah.
That right now we are on track to actually be profitable. We haven't turned a profit any month for 4 years.
Yeah.
But we're so close.
We came close a few times.
Yeah, a couple times.
And then things happened. Yeah. So, I mean, we're investing so much money to make the place look nice. Yeah. That was, like, when we took over, the reason it was going into foreclosure, the reason it hadn't sold to anybody is because it was in terrible condition. The people loved the horses that owned the farm.
Right.
They were trying their best, but it was just let go. I mean, 3 feet of poop in every stall. The stalls all had to be gutted. Yeah. The grass was really, really, really tall, 3-4 feet tall. There were trees just growing in front of all the buildings.
There was a swimming pool in front of the house, and you couldn't even see the swimming pool.
You didn't know it was there.
It was completely covered with weeds. You didn't know.
Yeah.
I remember meeting with a couple,
and
they were talking about a swimming pool. I said, "Oh, when did you have a swimming pool?" They said, "It's out there now." I said, "It is?"
Yeah. So it took a ton of work, and 4 years later, I feel like we're finally arriving. Like when I drive up, I'm like, "Oh wow, we own this. This is cool.
I agree.
This is so nice."
I agree.
Not in a braggish way or anything like that, but just like really proud of where we've come.
I didn't feel that way until probably 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And 3 months ago, when I'm on the property, it's like, wow, this is really nice now. It's really come a long way. Mm-hmm. And we still got 2 more years before we're done.
I have a lot more design projects to do before we're done. I cannot wait.
Yeah. So this coming week, we're going to be working on the cabana.
It is not a cabana. Listeners, a cabana is a structure by a pool, a swimming pool.
Well, there used to be a swimming pool by there.
Oh my goodness, it is not. It is a block, it's a block building, 3-sided block building with a tin roof on it. But we're going to turn that into a really cool hangout with chairs, lights, fire pit.
A desert cabana. It's not a
desert.
Pool cabana.
It's not a desert.
No, it's a horse cabana.
Horse cabana. Oh boy.
Horse cabana. We're going to start a new trend.
Oh boy.
But so that's next week we're going to start on. Well, maybe, because the hay might start coming in next week. And
you can never put a time. This is another thing that I have learned over the last 4 years. You cannot put a timeline on any of the projects because with 3 businesses, 2 of them being farms, things come up. Like today, the tracks came off of our skid loader, and you had to spend a few hours out there working on that. So unforeseen things pop up. But in the near future, I will be designing a cabana.
Yes, a cabana.
A cabana.
A horse cabana.
So thank you so much for listening, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
If you like what you've heard, any kind of support, sharing it, commenting below, giving us some ideas. Like, what are some questions you have for us?
We should do like a question.
I would love
one day
a
week
Q&A.
questions. Yeah.
Well, how many podcasts are we doing now?
Feedback Friday or something. Yeah.
I was planning on doing one podcast a week.
Okay, me too.
Oh, okay. Maybe once a month we'll do a Q&A.
Well, once we go full time.
True.
Okay.
Until then, leave your questions below, and we will see you in the next podcast.